Hey everybody, I'm Anna McEwen. And now for Bob Switzer with the epic narrative.
Well, I thought last week's was a little strange, but this one is another one. And I have heard this one preached on. Uh, I don't know if they were right in their application and interpretation. I really don't know. It's another strange, weird story, and it, we kind of ended last week, and I alluded to the idea of there's a culture that we need to invite people to, living with love and joy and hope and peace. But there's an aspect of doing things in the world around us that isn't necessarily evil. We have to be discerning. I do think that religion takes it too far. They turn it into all kinds of craziness. Clothing that you're allowed to wear, not to wear, haircuts you're allowed to have and not have, jobs you're allowed to keep and not keep, cars you're allowed to drive and not drive, where, how much money you give to, quote, the church and ministry, etc. It's over the top for sure. And it doesn't necessarily bring the kingdom, because you're actually bringing people into more and more bondage. And the kingdom of love is about freedom and identity and purpose. And out of those, and love, and out of identity, purpose, and love, you make your choices and you live a life that's very inviting, culturally shifting to everyone around you, whether it's your family or the business people or people you work with, whatever. Like there is a line there for sure. And there is grace, and there is, like I said, freedom and love and joy and hope. And it is an opportunity to interact with heaven on a daily basis so that we carry and represent God well here on this earth. All right. Did I do that? Did I do that good? Bob's like, actually, that was pretty good. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. I kind of liked it too. It is a weird... No, it's not weird. We make it weird because why do we make it weird? Oh, because we don't know when to stop. And then we get defensive and we build a castle rather than saying, all right, you don't like what I'm wearing. You don't like where I hang out. So let's talk and let's figure this out. And both sides could be wrong. And both sides could be right. And as long as both sides are willing to come to a compromise, then we'll we're representing the kingdom, because we're having these conversations and we're not building walls and destroying relationship over those sort of things. But it's conversations to be had, and it's relationships to be developed, and it takes time. All right. I'm laughing because my dog, he's just too cute, right? He, like I told you before, he loves to be literally under my feet when I'm recording. Not sure why, but there is something really attractive about it. And I stood in such a way that I thought this will keep him out. And he's a dachshund, so he's like a worm sometimes, and he snaggled his way in there, and all of a sudden I realized I can't move because of where he's at. So I had to move him, and that's why I was laughing. All right. On with the show. Judges 19. In those days, Israel had no king. So we're talking about the times of Judges when there isn't an appointed judge. Now a Levite who lived in a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim. Wow, does that sound familiar? Yeah, it's exactly where Micah's house was with the last Levite who got all messed up. I wonder if Levites, much like I don't know, pastors' kids often get a bad rap, but they don't necessarily get it undeservedly. And I wonder sometimes if Levite kids were similar. Like they grew up and they were They were the special tribe. And eventually they're like, I don't want to be here. And they would wander off into the hillside of Ephraim to do stuff so that they weren't watched all the time. They weren't judged all the time. They weren't under the scrutiny of the high priest all the time. And they did it on, they were like, I'm going to go teach people in the hill country. And they would disappear. And then, maybe come back years later, maybe not come back. I don't know. But it's one of those things I wonder about when I read stuff like this. And there you go. Now you know what I wonder about when I read stuff like this. So he went to the remote area of the hill country of Ephraim, took a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. But she was unfaithful to him. She left him and went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem, Judah. After she had been there 4 months, her husband went to her to persuade her to return. He had with him his servant and 2 donkeys. She took him into her parents' home, and when her father saw him, he gladly welcomed him. All right, let me just walk through that a little bit. So we got a Levite. Like I said, he grows up. He knows what he's going to be. His job description has been determined from before birth. When he comes out a male, he was a male before he came out, but he comes out, it's a male. It's like, all right, here we go. We have another priest. And he was raised to be a priest. And I'm sure that went great for a while. And then I just think, like I said, periodically you just have guys who are like, you know what? I don't want to do this job. Or I want to do a different part of this job. I don't want to do the temple job. I'm going to go teach in the wilderness. Or maybe they were sent there. Maybe there were other people who were like, I think you need to serve your time in the wilderness before you get to be one of the main teachers in Jerusalem by the tabernacle or whatever. Jerusalem wasn't their capital city at this point anyways, so that's I'm a little ahead of myself on that. Whatever the story might be, he's out there. And it says he took a concubine from Bethlehem. So he went down to Bethlehem to near Judah or in Judah to get a concubine. So he's living remotely, not a lot of people around him, and he took, which means to procure, to select in marriage, a concubine, which isn't necessarily she performs the duties of a wife, but it doesn't have the same value as a marriage as far as the culture is concerned. Basically, you're in a contractual relationship, not a covenant one. Concubine was basically there to procure babies with. There was no real attraction. And there wasn't necessarily a plan for it either. Sometimes in the arranged marriages, you didn't know if you were going to be attracted to your spouse or not. And you were basically told, figure it out, like find a way to be attractive, find the things that are attractive about them. And you made it work. And there are those who even today will tell you that there's value in saying, I will love this person because I'm going to marry them, even though you might not know them. Like the arranged marriages have some value in the act of your will to be in love with somebody. They don't necessarily have. It's not perfect. Let me put it that way. There are places where abuse occurs, but that occurs in other forms of marriages as well, for sure. And there's currently, the whole child arranged marriage thing that still is going on in various parts of this world is strange and bizarre to me, where you have these 60, 70, 80-year-old men having arranged marriages with 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old girls. Like that's, I'm sorry, not cool. But generally speaking, in this culture, arranged marriages worked out and lasted for a while because you were, in essence, trained up, prepared for the fact that you might not know who you're going to marry, but you can fall in love with them. Concubines weren't that arrangement. It was, you are going to be available to make babies and to take care of household duties. And I will take care of you. And you will have food and clothing. And we will, I'm not going to abuse you. Like, you'll be cared for, but you're also going to take care of the children. Whatever. All right. You get the picture. So he came down to Bethlehem. He picks a girl, quote, from the crowd. That's really what it is. Now, maybe this is near a well. Sometimes it might have been near the entrance of a town. Girls that were available made their way there. They wore certain clothing. Sometimes they would wear a certain color clothing, and men would know, hey, that's somebody I could just get married to. I don't need to make arrangements necessarily. There's no long-term covenant involved with the families. I can just, in essence, take that one home. Oftentimes, this would happen around the wells because in Jewish tradition, right, you have Moses, Isaac, Jacob. They all got their wives near, when they were at wells. So sometimes that's where this would occur, where girls who were available to be chosen would make their rounds at the well, at the central well, so that people could see them. Their names could be known, their families would be known, et cetera, et cetera. So he comes down and he picks a girl. Maybe she was cute. I don't know. It doesn't matter. He had some sort of attraction to her, I assume at some level, and he was like, hey, I'll take you. You can be my concubine. So he takes her back to the country. This is a city girl, in essence. And he takes her back to a country home in the middle of nowhere. She's used to hanging out with a bunch of single ladies during the day. I mean, not that she didn't do work. I have little doubt that she had, in essence, chores to do every day, and she did them well. But she was also a single girl in a small city, and there was probably some enjoyment to that. So she ends up in the country, and it says she's unfaithful to him. So I don't know if she was just looking for a good time. But if you can remember back to, I don't know, was it last season or the season before? Like, I think it was last season. We went through one of those, Deuteronomy, Leviticus. I don't think it was in numbers, but Moses went through this kind of long list of bizarre don't have sex with rules. And it was all over the place. Don't have sex with your sister. Don't have sex with your sister-in-law. Don't have sex with your mother-in-law. Don't have sex. You're just like, what was going on in this culture that he needed to make it that specific? I don't know if you remember that or not. I still remember being amazed at how crazy specific he was regarding their sexual behavior and thinking these people were out there when it came to who they thought was available. But that was the value they had on women. It was like, if you're feeling it, just grab the nearest thing and go for it. And Moses is like, no, like there's value to sex and there's value to women, and you can't just do that. We're changing the culture. Well, that culture had shifted back, or maybe they never shifted out of it. And so she went and made herself available. She cheated on him. She was looking for fun. Or maybe she was looking for somebody who was more fun than he was. Maybe she was looking for somebody who would take her back to the city. I don't know. But there was no value to the marriage vows. Like I said, they didn't have a covenant together. The culture was fairly oppressive for girls. Maybe she felt like she had no option out there in the country. And when she saw another option, she figured she'd go for it, make herself available for it. Or maybe somebody in the country saw her and was like, wow, there's a new girl in town. I'd like to get with it. Maybe cheating felt like freedom. I have no idea. You can make up that part of the story. Bob's like, will you stop going through scenarios? We'll be here all day. I agree with you. I will move on. So that 4 months later, now I don't know if he's home upset, if he's brooding, if he's like, I can't believe she did that to me, or if he's like, well, whatever. Like, and then he's like, I probably should go get her. So 4 months later, he goes back to the city. He brings 2 donkeys, which one is for her and one is probably for supplies. He brings a servant. Um, and he goes down to persuade her to return. He's going down to make his case. He doesn't want to lose her, which I gotta give him some props for. Now later he loses all those props. If you know the story, you know why. But right now we'll just say good. It's good. He's like, all right, you cheated on me. I've been upset, hurt, rejected, but to be fair, we didn't. We're not in covenant. And we could probably still have some good arrangements, and we can still make babies together. So I'll go down and convince her to come back with me. When his father-in-law, she took him into her parents' home, so she sees him at the door, and there's some connection there where she's like, "Yeah, come on in." And when the father-in-law comes home, he's very happy to see him, and he welcomes him back, probably because her reputation and his reputation were starting to get tied together. And they were like, well, she took a contract and now she's back because she cheated on him. She's one of those kind of girls. So the fact that the Levite showed back up to reclaim her speaks well of the father and well of the girl and well of the Levite. So everybody could all look good here. He gladly welcomes him in. The father-in-law, the woman's father, prevailed on him to stay, so he remained with him 3 days, eating and drinking and sleeping there. Now, when it says that she took him into her father's house, it also meant the bedroom, and the father-in-law wanting to be respectable and have a respectable son-in-law, and to be, let everybody know that this man of God is a member of the family. And is adored by us and taken care of by us, and we like him. So he stays there 3 nights, in essence, willingly. And then on the fourth day, verse 5, they got up to go early, and he was prepared to leave. But the woman's father said to his son-in-law, refresh yourself with something to eat, then you can go. So the 2 of them sat down to eat, and they began to drink together. And afterwards, the father said, stay the night tonight. Enjoy yourself, which you can use your imagination of what that means. And when the man got up to go, his father persuaded him to stay there that night. So there was a lot of, shall we say, family pressure. The Levite was there 3 days. He's like, all right, that's enough. I'd like to get back home, take my wife home. Let's go. They prepared everything the night before. They were ready to go early in the morning, and the father-in-law got up and he's like, come on, you can't leave. You can't leave without breakfast. I mean, come on. So the Levite concedes and says, all right, we'll stay for something to eat. Well, I'm thinking, this is my imagination, that the father-in-law doesn't want him to leave. The verbiage of the next few verses seems to set up this pattern of, we are going to keep this up so that we can convince him to stay here long enough that eventually he doesn't go back to the country, but he stays within our household and keeps sleeping with my daughter in her room, in our house. And this is going to work out perfect because my daughter does not want to live in the country. And I can make everybody happy here. I can make it clear that we can provide for him, and I can make it clear that she doesn't have to leave, and everybody can be happy. I can be happy. Our family's respectable. I mean, there's all these things are woven into the persuasion part, why the father-in-law was leaning on this Levite so heavily. So they get up, and he's like, wait to eat. So I think that he probably delayed some of the food, brought some of it out early, and then was like, we have a few more things that we're still preparing. Maybe he went in and threw a fit over the way the fish was cooked or the goat was cooked, and he said, we're going to have to make another one. I'm sorry, please stay. Ultimately, by the time they were done eating and drinking, it was afternoon, and he was like, you can't leave now. Spend the night, go back to the bedroom, enjoy, have a good time. You can leave in the morning. All right. And when the man got up to go, verse 7, his father-in-law persuaded him. So he stayed there that night. And on the morning of the 5th day, verse 8, so he's there now. He was leaving on the 3rd day. He stayed the 4th day that night. Now he's on the 5th day. When he rose to go, the father said to him, refresh yourself. Wait till afternoon. So he could tell making him spend the day was not going to happen. So he's like, just hang out till, basically have a late breakfast and leave at noon. Don't leave early in the morning. I love you. I love my daughter. Let's just have a nice leisurely morning together, and then we'll talk. Then when the man with his concubine and his servant got up to leave, the father-in-law said, now look, it's almost evening. Spend the night here. The day is nearly over. Enjoy yourself. Early tomorrow morning, you can get up and be on your way home. And that's what I mean. The pattern of the language is this was going to be a continuous thing. A continuous thing. Day after day, he was going to continue this. And the Levite saw this, and he realized, all right, I can't. I have to leave. So even though it was afternoon, and there was no way he was going to make Jerusalem by evening time, which is where they were headed, he was at least going to get that direction. So he got a very late start. Verse 10, unwilling to spend another night, the man left and went toward Jebus, or that is Jerusalem, with his 2 saddled donkeys and his concubine. And when they were near Jebus and the day was almost gone, the servant said to his master, come, let us stop at a city, of the Jebusites and spend the night. And the master said, no, we will not go to any city whose people are not Israelites. We will go to oh my gosh, sorry. We will go to Gibeah. He added, come, let us try and reach Gibeah. So it's getting late. And then he's like, or even Ramah, and spend the night in one of those places. So they went on, and the sun set as they got to Gibeah in Benjamin. So they got to a Jewish city. The Levite was like, I'm not going to just spend the night anywhere. I'm going to go to my people, because my people will take care of me. And the only Jewish city around there was a small village and another city. So they got to Gibeah. And in verse 15, they stopped there to spend the night. And they sat at the city square, but no one took them in for the night. Now, you have to remember, God's people were supposed to be known as a people of hospitality. I mean, culturally, hospitality was a big deal. But even more so, it was supposed to be a big deal times 10 when it came to God's people. So the Levite fully expected to show up regardless of what time, and somebody would take them in. And so you would go to the city square. Sometimes that's where the well was as well. Is that a sentence? Probably is, if you diagram it correctly. He's sitting there, and he's waiting for someone to come ask them if they need a place to stay. Remember, housing the poor, the widows, the orphans, the strangers. This was part of the laws of the culture of the kingdom of heaven. This was part of the boundaries. And therefore, there were like no hotels, because all your homes were to be ready to take in people who showed up. The strangers, the poor, the needy, the wanderers. They were all to be taken care of. But no one took them in. This is a huge deal. So now evening comes. In other words, the sun is down, the gates are closed, and an old man comes in. Verse 16, that evening, an old man from the hill country of Ephraim, same area as the Levite is from, although you could be 10 miles away and it feels like a different country. Same region, I should say. He was living in Gibeah. The inhabitants of this place were Benjamites. Of course, the Benjamites are what? From the same tribe as David and his family, which we get into next season. But we get into it again. I know we got into it in the first season, but now we're going to do it again because I've learned a lot and we got a lot more to say now. So, what do you mean a lot more to say? I didn't say it would be longer. 60 plus hours. You're right. No, that's a long time. That was it, it'll be about the same. I don't know. Stop. All right. Sorry. Bob and I are arguing. When this old man looked and he saw the traveler in the city square, the old man asked, "Where are you going and where did you come from?" And he answered, "We are on our way to Bethlehem in Judah, from Bethlehem in Judah, to a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim where I live. I've been to Bethlehem in Judah, and now I'm going to the house of the Lord." In other words, in Jerusalem. So he's headed to the tabernacle. "No one has taken me in for the night." And the old man says, "We have both straw and fodder for our," oh no, he says, "We have both straw and fodder for our donkeys, and bread and wine for ourselves, your servants, me, the woman, and the young men with us. We don't need anything." He's like, "You are welcome at my house. Let me supply whatever you need. Only don't spend the night in the square." So again, this exchange was one of a little bit of desperation. The Levites like, "We just need a place to sleep. We literally have everything we need. I've got stuff to feed my animals. I've got stuff to feed my servant, my wife, and myself. But no one's taking us in." Now, theoretically, cities should be safe enough for you to sleep in the city square. If no one takes you in, you are allowed to sleep in the city square. If you remember, that's the same story of the angels in Sodom and Gomorrah. They were like, "We'll just sleep in the city square." But the same sin of inhospitable culture, the same sort of culture of Sodom and Gomorrah is here in a Benjamite city of wow, I forgot what city it is. It starts with a G. Gibeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, no, I looked it up myself. So the old man kind of feels some camaraderie with this Levite because they are kind of from the same sort of region. And the old man was like, "No, you can come back to my house. I'll take care of you. And everything will go fine." Now, so he took him to his house. He fed the donkeys. And after they washed their feet, they had something to eat and drink. So the old man took care of them the way that anybody else should have. So ultimately, there was some hospitality, very similar to Sodom and Gomorrah, where Lot did offer hospitality to the angels. And definitely, Lot at that time knew, because of the laws of Sodom and Gomorrah, and you can go back to season 2 on that and check it out, but he knew he had to get them off the streets or it was going to be trouble. So this old man takes them in, literally takes care of them. I'm sure it's very dark at this point. And while they were enjoying themselves, some of the, quote, wicked men of the city surrounded the house. Pounding on the door, they shouted to the old man who owned the house, "Bring out the man who came to your house so we can have our way with him." They wanted to rape him. The owner of the house went outside and said to them, "No, don't be so vile. This man is my guest. Do not do this outrageous thing. Look, you can have my daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do whatever it is you want to do with them. But as for this man, don't do such an outrageous thing? Wow. Now, if that doesn't give you an idea of the cultural value of women, here's an old man who has 3 guests in his house, 2 men and a woman, and he also has a daughter. So that would make 3, 4, 5. That would make 5 of them around the dinner table. No, the girls, I'm sure, were not at the table. The men were eating, the girls were serving. Everything was going along smoothly, and his house was surrounded. And by surrounded, it means they covered the entrances. It doesn't necessarily mean that there were like 50 people around holding hands or linking arms or, doing some sort of protest march. They blocked the entrances and they said, "Bring out the man. We want to rape him." What? Why? Because this is always about power. This is about control. This is about creating fear. This is what they wanted their town to be like. This is the culture that they wanted within their village. They wanted a culture that said, if you don't belong here, we will do something vile to you. And they didn't consider the women to be of value in creating that culture, because women could be raped anytime they wanted, anytime a man wanted to. That meant nothing. They wanted to rape the man. I'm sorry if your kids are in the car listening to this. They wanted to rape the man because for them, it was about power. It was about control. And men had power. Men had authority. This was a Levite who had religious authority as well. They wanted to rape him so that he would know that they were in control and that he should never come to their town again. And that if anybody else wanted to come to their town and, quote, teach them the laws of God, it was going to be over for them. They controlled the town. They wanted it to be known. This is very similar to the way it might happen if you showed up, in a city that's controlled by gangs or by you're in Mexico and you just decide to go visit a little village. And you take up with somebody you met at the market. They bring you in for dinner, and then the cartel shows up, and they want to take you because they assume you got money. They assume you got whatever contacts, and they want to make sure you're not welcome in their town. No one's ever welcome in their town. They also want to communicate to the person who took you in. This is not who we are. We don't take people in. You should have left them in the square where we could have taken care of business without, you getting involved. So the old man, honestly, this is just like the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah. And the old man, he fights, and his protest was this: I'll give you 2 girls. I'll give you his wife and my daughter. You do whatever you want with them. And the men are like, no, that is not relevant to what we're trying to accomplish here. So this is, the men would not listen. So the man took his concubine, the Levite, took his concubine, sent her outside to them. They basically destroyed her all night long. And when the sun was coming up, they let her go. At daybreak, the woman went back to the house where her master was staying, again, not called the husband. She fell down at the door and laid there until daylight hit her, till, the sun came up over the city buildings. Really, the idea is that she barely survived the night with all of the abuse that occurred, and it occurred multiple times all night long. She crawled home barely. And this is where, this is where you could apply a lot of things to religion and value of people and purpose and identity of religious leaders. But when her master got up in the morning, he opened the door of the house and stepped out and continued on his way. There lay his concubine, fallen in the doorway of the house with her hands on the threshold. So he literally gets up in the morning, has a bite to eat, gets dressed, he's ready to go, and he decides, I got to go. He opens the door. He had to literally step over her body. He has the servant bring the donkeys around. And he says to her, get up. But there's no answer. There's no answer because she's dead, dipstick. You killed her. But he wasn't gonna take that. No. When he realizes what's going on, he picks her up and he puts her on the donkey and he takes her back home, which probably was a full day's ride. Now she's dead the whole time, baking in the sun. And when he reached home, he took a knife and he cut the concubine up limb by limb into 12 parts. And he sent them into all the areas of Israel. And everyone who saw it was saying to one another, such a thing has never been seen or done. Not since the day the Israelites came out of Egypt. Just imagine. We must do something. So speak up. So he cut her up into 12 pieces. He sends one piece to every tribe. I don't know who he sent it to. I don't know what elder, what leader, where, what cities. I don't know. It must have come with a letter, or maybe he sent them off with various servants who came with a message. But when they opened it up and saw whatever limb or body part that was in there, they realized, probably based on either the letter or the spoken word that came with it, the lack of hospitality, the lack of kingdom culture that was occurring in a Jewish city to a Levite had reached a level that even they were shocked. Even though there was no king, and at this point, I mean, you could call Samson the last judge, but he clearly didn't do much for 20 years as far as developing the culture of heaven. So there really hasn't been any sort of major spiritual influence for probably close to 60 years. But even that, because of what happened to the Levite and his concubine, even that was shocking to the people who received this message. And they were like, we need to do something. And they did decide to do something, and we will talk about it next week on The Epic Narrative. What a cliffhanger. That was a good cliffhanger. Don't you think so, Bob? Me too. All right. See you guys next week.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Bob Thoughts.
And away we go, and away we go. Well, today's episode was, I don't know, it's sad and fascinating to me. It's sad that the culture of religion has been around for so long, and the mindset of I can control God. I can control who teaches and what is taught because I have money. I can be in charge of me and drag God into it. Or for those in ministry to be like, I just need to find a good, comfy job that'll pay me well, and I'll preach whatever. There's so many, honestly, even guys I went to Bible school with that signed into a specific denomination, and they virtually haven't studied anything new about God since then. They've studied their doctrinal statements of faith. They preach what is sent to them in a notebook, whatever. Like the idea of relationship and connection is gone when it comes to God. And it's fascinating to me that has been going on for so long. So long. We'll continue the story next week as well, and I hope you stick around for it. Also, just a encouragement reminder, we would love to have more followers. If you can, even just post something. Just say, hey, love this podcast, give it a listen. Something like that. Just a screenshot of maybe a favorite episode or just the screenshot of the app that you look on it, put it in your stories for a day. That would be a really great honor to have you guys encourage others to listen. And of course, if you can support us financially, that would be amazing. We did get a very sweet gift the other day that it was perfectly timed. It was like yeah, it was just sweet. It was like exactly what we needed to pay for some software that needed updating. And it was awesome. You guys are awesome. If you can give, great. If you can listen, great. If you can promote it, great. And if not, you're still great. And we'll see you next week on The Epic Narrative.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to this podcast on any platform you use. You can also reach out to Bob for questions or booking at thebobswitzer.com or email him at thebobswitzer@gmail.com. See you next week, guys.